The bride stood at the altar, her beautiful white dress barely able to conceal the secret she had been keeping for the past few months. She was pregnant, and it was her wedding day. As she looked into the eyes of her groom, she couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. She was thrilled to be marrying the love of her life, but she was also worried about how her pregnancy would affect their big day. The ceremony began, and the bride's nerves quickly dissipated as she saw the love and joy in her groom's eyes. She felt like the luckiest woman in the world, and nothing could bring her down. The vows were exchanged, and the couple shared their first kiss as husband and wife. The crowd erupted in applause, and the bride couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. She had made it through her wedding day, and she was proud of herself for doing so while pregnant. As the reception began, the bride and groom were showered with congratulations and well wishes. The bride couldn't help but feel a little self-conscious about her baby bump, but her groom reassured her that she was beautiful, and he was proud of her. The night was a blur of dancing, laughter, and love. Before they knew it, it was time for the bride and groom to say goodbye to their guests and start their new life together as husband and wife. The pain started as a small twinge, but it quickly grew into something more intense. The bride tried to ignore it, thinking it was just nerves or stress, but as the night went on, the pain became unbearable. In the middle of the reception, she excused herself and went to the bathroom. That's when she realized that her water had broken. She was going into labor. She didn't know what to do. She was in the middle of her wedding day. She was supposed to be dancing and celebrating with her new husband, not giving birth. She tried to call her husband, but he was busy with the guests and didn't hear his phone. She didn't want to ruin his special day, so she decided to make her way to the hospital alone. She quickly said goodbye to her family and friends, telling them she wasn't feeling well and needed to go home. The drive to the hospital was a blur. She was in so much pain, she could barely focus on the road. When she finally arrived, she was rushed into a delivery room. Her husband was still at the reception, but her family quickly informed him, and he rushed to the hospital. After several hours of labor, the bride gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. Her husband was by her side, holding her hand and crying tears of joy. Despite the unexpected turn of events, they were thrilled to welcome their new son into the world. After the birth, the bride and groom decided to stay in the hospital for a few days before returning home. They were exhausted, but overjoyed. They had a new baby and a new life together. The wedding day may not have gone as planned, but in the end, it was the perfect day. They started their life together as a family, and nothing could be more perfect than that. After giving birth, the bride and her newborn son were discharged from the hospital and returned home. Exhausted but overjoyed, the bride couldn't wait to start her new life as a mother. But when she walked through the door, she was surprised to find her family waiting for her with a small party. They had decorated the living room with balloons and streamers, and there was a beautiful cake on the table. They had put together this celebration to make up for her wedding that had been interrupted by the birth of her son. The bride was touched by the thoughtfulness of her family and friends. She never imagined that anything could make up for missing her wedding day, but this small party was a wonderful way to start her new life as a mother. She cut the cake with her husband, and they shared it with everyone. They all laughed and talked, and the bride was able to introduce her new baby boy to everyone. It was a perfect way to celebrate the birth of her son and the start of their new family. The bride couldn't help but think back to her wedding day and how it had been so different from what she had imagined. But now she realized that it had been so much better than she could have ever imagined. The birth of her son had brought her and her husband even closer together, and she knew that they would always treasure that day as the day that their little family began. From that day on, the bride, her husband, and their son were inseparable, and they lived happily ever after.